Mark Stein, MSI Guns, Roseville, California. Customer brought in a Springfield 1911 TRP and he wanted me to change the sights out. He has a little hard time seeing these Trigicon night sights during the day, so we're going to put something brighter in there. A couple things you want to start with when you're doing sights is you need a pretty substantial vise, and while these soft rubber jaws work pretty good when you're working with like a Glock or something that the sights come out pretty simply, they don't work so good on this because Springfield traditionally puts their sights in pretty tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to protect the sight, or the slide. And the best way to do that is, I have steel jaws because I use this vise for a lot of different things. So I'm going to show you how to use aluminum to make an aluminum soft vise. First thing, it's 1 inch by 1/8 inch aluminum strip. You can get it at the hardware store. Handy dandy duct tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the duct tape on the aluminum strip. I'm going to set the aluminum in the vise and then just tape it right over the steel. Alright, so now we have a soft jawed vise. So a couple things. When you put the slide in the vise, don't over tighten it. 1911s run on a really tight tolerance. If you put the squeeze to the slide, the gun may not operate correctly. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we want to drive that pin out of the front sight. So we're going to put the slide in the vise, take our hammer, we're going to come up here, and then okay, that's looking pretty good. I'll reach in here and pull that out. Alright, so I got the pin out. So the next thing we want to do is we want to drive the sight out. And on Springfields, they like driving from right to left. So you drive them out, right to left, and then you'll drive the new ones in left to right. So that we don't put any real torque on the slide, I like to center up the sight with the middle of the vise. Then I'm going to take a punch. These I get from Brownells. I think they're like $20. They're actually specifically made for pushing sights out. See how it's a triangle shape? It fits in the dovetail real well. If you don't have one of these, if you use a steel punch, you're going to really bugger up the sight getting it out. Again, Harbor Freight or any hardware store, you can usually get some brass rod and then just go at it with a file until you make a triangle shape that'll fit in the dovetail. So I'm going to come in here, and usually what I do is I don't know how tight the sight is, so I usually try tapping on the dovetail rather than driving on the blade of the sight. We'll see if it'll go. And on these, it's really a small ridge, so I'm not going to have any success. So I'm going to make sure I put the brass punch down at the bottom of the blade. Give it a little tap. There we go. Okay, so that one's out. So now we're going to do the rear sight. So the rear sight's a little more challenging. It's got an Allen screw, and they almost always Loctite them in. So I'm just going to hang on to this slide lightly. I'm going to take the old map torch, and I'm going to warm it up. It's not so hot that it's going to damage the sight, but Loctite usually lets go between, it softens up at about 200 degrees, and it usually lets go completely at about 450 to 500 degrees. So there's a 1/8 inch, not an 1/8 inch, there's a 1/16 inch Allen screw in here There we go. Alright, so I can take that. I don't have to take it all the way out. I just have to back it off enough that it's not down buried into the bottom of the dovetail. So that end's still hot, so don't grab onto that end. So now again, I'm going to put the rear sight kind of in line with the center of the vise. Get out my punch, put it in the bottom of the dovetail, and give it a whack. And these are tight. And that's still a little hot to the touch, but so we got that out. I use the punches if I don't have the right shoes for my sight pusher, but if you've got money to burn or you're going to do a lot of sights, this is a really great sight pusher. We can change out the shoe, we can adjust to different widths of the slides, and these work great, but hold on to your hats. These are about $350 for the pusher, and each shoe that's unique to a 1911 or unique to an XD or unique to a Glock, each of the shoes are about 20 bucks. So you probably don't want to run out and buy one of these unless you're going to get serious about doing sights. I could use that, but I want to show you how to do it at home. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to use these TruGlo sights. This is what the customer wants. It's the TFO. It's an awesome sight. It has fiber optic in it, so it takes light in through the fiber optic window in the top, and it illuminates the sights. Really bright outdoors, which makes it really easy to pick up that sight really quick. The neat thing about these is fiber optics aren't normally known to be very effective at night, because if there's no light coming through the window, you can't see them. So what TruGlo did is, TFO is tritium and fiber optic. So what they did is they put little vials of tritium in front of the fiber optic. So the tritium is a little radioactive vial, and it glows. So when there's no ambient light, the tritium lights up the fiber optic. So at night these are really bright too. And they're only bright from the back of the gun. You can't see them from the front of the gun, so the bad guys can't see you're pointing at them. Anyway, it's a 1911. Springfield and quite a few other makers use the traditional Novak style dovetails. So, but the thing to keep in mind when you're ordering these is that different length slides take different height front sights. So this is a 5-inch slide, and so we're going to run a .260 front sight height, and in the back we're going to run a .45. So that'll give you the right plane when you're aiming. So we'll get these out of the box and we'll see how they fit. Front sight. Typically what I want to do is, if the sight all the way in is in line with the center line, then I'm usually going to want to be able to come into this notch about half the way to center line. So we'll get it started and see how this one fits. They're usually pretty tight. Okay. Okay. So these are great. This is making it about halfway in, so that means I don't have to fit the dovetail, and I'll tell you what that means as far as fitting the dovetail. And on the rear sight, same kind of thing. I want to be able to get it in at least a quarter of the way. And this one I can get about half the way home with my hand, so that means that'll press in real nice. But let's say, for instance, that I couldn't get it in. It was even hard to just get started. There's a couple tricks that you can use to get them started. So on the dovetail, there's a face here and here inside, and that's going to engage with this face here and this face here of the sight. So if it's too tight to get started, that means I have to bring these two faces closer together. The easiest way to bring those two faces together is I use old knife sharpening stone, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind off part of the bottom of the dovetail, and what that's going to do is that's going to, as I bring the bottom of the triangle up, the sides of the triangle come together. So I apply downward pressure, and then I just sweep it back and forth. And some sites it's just a quick cleanup, and other sites you're camped out here for 20 minutes or a half hour. It just kind of depends. Springfields tend to have tighter dovetails than some of the other brands, but that's how you would fit a site to a slide. The Springfield XDs are the tightest, without a doubt. Alright, so the other trick that you can use to, if the site doesn't even want to get started, it's usually because there's a really sharp point here, and there's a really sharp point here. So what we can do is we can get one of these site base files from Brownells. So here's what's really cool about these files. What you can see is it's a triangle shaped file, and this side is smooth and this side is smooth, and this side actually has the cutting face. So the great thing about this is if I place this down in the slot and I'm filing on the side of the dovetail, it's only working on this surface. It won't take any material off the bottom of the dovetail. The other cool part is that you can buy these files in different angles. So like Novak sites use a 65-degree angle. So this smooth side to the serrated side, it's a 60-degree angle. So if my sight's off a little bit, I can set the smooth side in the bottom of the dovetail, and I can just rub back and forth and square up the inside face. So if the sight's really tight, what you'll do is you'll take your file and you'll go at a bit of an angle, and you'll file on this side of the dovetail, and then you'll flip it over and you'll file on that side of the dovetail, and in effect you're creating a little bit of a funnel for the sight to guide into. Alright, so you can get these from Brownells. They make them in 60-degree and 65-degree. It's called a sight base file, and they run between $35 and $40. So funny part is, if you're only going to do one set of sights, it's probably better, faster, easier, and cheaper to have somebody install the sights for you than go out and blow $40 on a file. If you're going to do a couple sets, or you're going to be using this file for a whole lot of other things, buy the file. It's going to save you a bunch of colorful speech when you can't get something to fit. Alright, so next thing we're going to do, we've got this positioned here, so we want to talk about how we're going to secure these sights in the dovetail. I use two different types of Loctite. This is Loctite 620. It's a really ugly green color, and I use this on the front sight. The reason why I use this on a front sight is it has a really high shear strength. Thing's got a tenacious grip. You think about the dovetail on the front sight, it's pretty small. So we want to get a really high grip, because the last thing you want is front sight falling out. The other reason why we use 620 is it holds up really well to vibration, and the best part is all of the solvents that we would traditionally use to clean a gun won't affect this stuff. But if you ever have to get the sight out, what you're going to do is you're going to take your torch, you're going to put a little heat on it, and the Loctite actually kind of melts a little bit, and it gives up and it comes out. You'll also use this if you have a sight that's fitting really loose, because it will take up like 10 thousandths gap and fill in the gap. It's mostly used for assembling industrial machines. So there's a small clearance, they put this in, and it's called a retaining adhesive. 620, great stuff. Okay, so the other one is Loctite 262. You don't have to buy the 262. You can go to the car parts store and you can get red Loctite, but the 262 is what we use. It seems to hold up really good for the solvents again, and the heat that a firearm can create. We use 262 on the rear sight. So first thing we want to do is let's go ahead and clean up this slide, and then we'll go ahead and install the sights. So this is acetone. You can use acetone or lacquer thinner. I'm just going to squirt some in the dovetail, wipe it out. That's going to get any grease or oil out of there. There we go. And it dries really fast. So we got that all nice and clean, because if you're going to use an adhesive, obviously you want to make sure you're oil free. So we're good there. Then grab our 620. Let's go ahead and reposition this. So alright, if you have a center line down the middle of the slide, and I'm going to drive the side in left to right, I'm going to put my Loctite on the left half. And that way, as the slide pushes in, it smears that Loctite all the way across. If I put the dribble in the middle, I'll not have any Loctite under the left side, and I'll push it all out the right side. So I'm just going to put a little bit. We're going to take our sight. I'm going to get it started in the dovetail and push it in. And then we're going to take our hammer and our brass punch. We're going to real nicely tap that thing in till it's in the middle. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I have a little extra Loctite, so I'm going to take some acetone. I'm going to wipe that down and get most of it off. And then hot trick is take an old toothbrush, and if there's any Loctite left, the bristles will get that out for you. Okay, that's looking pretty decent. Now I want to center it. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to drop it down. I'm going to make it so the sight's down below the top ledge of this piece of aluminum. And the reason why is I can use the inside calipers and measure from the aluminum face over to the dovetail. So I'll come in here, and I'm at 249, and I'll come over here, and I'm at 263, so I have to go that way just a tad. 256. 256. Looks pretty good to me. Alright, so now we're going to work on the rear sight. And again, try to get the dovetail close to the center line of the vise, so you aren't really torquing on it. Okay, so I'm going to rinse this off. That's still clean. Then I'm going to take our 262, put a little drop in there. And you don't have to go crazy on this stuff. You just want enough that it's not going to vibrate loose. So get that guy started. And then just help her back a little bit. So again, we're going to drop it down just below the level. Take our caliper. 125 and 126. I'm calling that good. Alright, so there's also a little little 16th Allen screw in here. And these always, if you don't Loctite them, they will fall out. So we're going to get out our 262. Put just a little bit down there. Okay. And one of the reasons why the sight manufacturers use such a small Allen wrench is they don't want you really cranking down on these. They just want it snug. So we'll wipe off the excess, and then we'll get out the old toothbrush, and we'll get rid of any excess. Let's wipe down the slide. Okay, we're looking pretty good. So, now one of the things to note, if you look really close where I drove that in, there's a little bit of brass on the sight, and that's off the punch. So, here's a trick. Go raid the kids' school supply box, grab a black Sharpie, because you guys probably don't have a official bluing pen. But if you want to get a bluing pen, you can get those from Birchwood Casey. They work real good. So before the ink dries, take that old toothbrush and then you buff it real good, and there's no brass marks on there. So does a nice job. It's pretty simple, and you know what my whole goal is in this video. One is to show you how the easy, effective way to install sights. The other thing is I wanted to use all tools that you can probably find in your house. So hope you enjoyed that. Happy Father's Day to everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one. Give me the thumbs up. Any comments, I'll do my best to get back to you as quick as I can. And check out our website at msiguns.com. Thanks.